Not live yet. Now we're live. All right. Oh, there it is. He got it, and he got the folks in, ladies and gentlemen. Repping the merch. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully, you guys are excited for today's one because this is it, ladies and gentlemen. This is your last chance. If you don't get it now, you're screwed. You might as well just quit while you can. Just let the depression flow. No, I'm just kidding. Seriously, though, I'm excited for today's video because, I mean, it should be pretty much known what we're going to be talking about today. But I don't want to spoil anything just yet. But before we jump into it, as always, we want to make sure you guys leave a like, comment down below, and subscribe. Really helps the YouTube channel. And then, of course, if you're interested in getting pricing for Pokemon Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Flesh and Blood, and so much more at Wholesale, make sure to check the link down in the description below. And, of course, the Discord as well, if you have any questions or want to be a part of the community. Alex, do you want to kind of take it from here before we get going, or do you want to just start now?
Let's just start, man. I just want to hear how everyone just keeps getting so lucky in this hobby.
Oh, man. Are we talking about the fact that Lost Origin is now at 210 and Brilliant is at 185?
I know I didn't make the greatest comparison, but in a way, it's like that. It's like, you know, this is a little morbid, right? But it's like, you know, when you have like an old grandparent and everyone kind of knows their time is almost up. And then, you know, eventually that day comes and they do pass on. Everyone's still surprised and they can't believe it. And it's always like a big shock. That's how I feel like this market is. It's like every channel across the entire YouTube space was saying the same thing. Buy Brilliant Stars, buy Lost Origin. It's going to go out of stock. It's going to run up. But then when it actually happens, it's still like a shock. Like, oh my gosh, can you guys believe it? Can you believe it ran up to 200? Kinda, yeah, but let's get shocked.
Yeah, I mean, we've been kind of talking about this since, what was the first set? I think it was Fusion was the first one we had this conversation with, where we saw the price just kind of climb up because it actually went out of stock before chilling. And we were like, oh, this is interesting. Like Fusion went out of stock on the Pokemon Center website. Chilling is still in stock. Fusion just ran up. That's kind of weird. Do we think that that's a coincidence? And before you know it, Chilling and Astral ran out. And then it just came to a point where we're like, okay, this is it. Like we've just come to the understanding that when it runs out on the Pokemon Center website, prices just kind of skyrocket. And so we obviously got news like 3 days ago that Lost Origin went out of stock and then Brilliant went out late last night. So it's like, okay, this is it. I mean, literally we know now that this is just kind of what happens. Pokemon Center is a really strong indicator to know if an item is going to skyrocket shortly after. And like, you know, I talked about it before, how I look at things is you look at, okay, how are the numbers on distro? And then once it runs out on distro, then you're basically just kind of waiting for Pokemon Center. And then that's kind of like the final catalyst. So using those two things as like strong indicators to know prices are going to just go crazy.
Yeah, man, it's just like noticing the pattern. It's like, you know, if a guy gets up, drinks a cup of coffee every morning, eats a peanut butter and jelly sandwich for lunch, comes home, watches the nightly news every single day for like 20 years, and, you know, you're betting, is he going to do that tomorrow or not? Like, the odds are he's going to. Like, that's how you bet. And it's just like the same thing right now. Like, you've seen it happen with every single set. And at some point, you have to say, okay, do I bet against this trend or do I go with it, which is the much more optimal or highest probability chance? And like, you know, we see at Lost Origin, Brilliant Stars, everyone was telling people who did it, they're happy right now. People who didn't, I don't know what you were doing. But hey, Silver Tempest is still out there. You got one more shot. Everyone's going to tell you to do the same thing. You're going to see videos about it. It's going to keep getting lower and lower. The boxes are going to keep rising, and it's up to you if you want to take action. That's all I got to say about it.
Well, and that's ultimately the question, right? I mean, it's at this point, Silver Tempest does seem like a no-brainer, right? But then, okay, well, Silver Tempest is next. I mean, how are we feeling about battle styles?
Battle styles, man, I don't know. Like, it's gonna go up to a certain point, right? I don't know. Like battle styles, like if battle styles got to $200 a box, I feel like that's a win.
Huh, that sounds crazy, but very possible. Well, I mean, here was my opinion on battle styles, right? I was just afraid that Battle Styles was going to be the one that you were left out of, right? Kind of like the argument that I made with why I'm not the biggest fan of Scarlet and Violet base compared to other sets like Paldea Evolved. You know, if you had the chance to go back and say Chilling Fusion, Battle Styles, obviously you would have lost if you picked Battle Styles, and pretty happy if you chose the other two. And so for me, I like look at Battle Styles and it's still one of those same kind of feelings of I don't want to make that mistake again. If well, I never made that mistake to begin with, but you get the point that I'm making. And so I look at it and I say, okay, well, it's at 125 right now. Like the price is going up. Like it's not like it's just going sideways at $100 or $110. The price is moving. So it still feels like one of these things where, okay, do I want to get in Battle Styles because I know that like, all right, Brilliant's out of stock, Lost Origins out of stock, Silver Tempest is going to go out of stock, Battle Styles is going to be the next one to pop off, which it feels like that has to be a no-brainer because if you recall, Astro was a set that wasn't taken too kindly. Like it's definitely an underrated set for sure, but like the value of where it is now, no one kind of anticipated it to be that high, and let alone go out of stock on the Pokemon Center website as soon as it did. So you almost kind of wonder with that, Battle Styles having a possibility to do the same. You never know, but then ultimately the question is, right, are you now banking the fact that it's going to go out of stock on the Pokemon Center website in the hopes that it just skyrockets in value? Or are you basically betting on the fact that you hope that Battle Styles is going to accrue a higher rate of return than if you were to go in right now, after Silver Tempest has gone out of stock and just pick up other booster boxes hoping they're going to go up in value? Because that's an argument that you could also make where, okay, let's say that, Brilliant Stars is at 180 and let's say you go buy it secondary market for like 160. Do you think it's more likely that it's going to hit over $200 first or 210, or you're going to gain a 20-30% return before Battle Styles goes out of stock on the Pokemon Center website? There's just so much like skepticism I have behind Battle Styles. It makes it a lot harder of a pick for me still.
I mean, full transparency, like anyone wants to know, I don't know if they still have them, but Hills Wholesale Gaming, I picked up cases of Battle Styles very recently, like last week, I believe. They were still $99. And so it just felt like a good pickup at that price. I don't know if they're still in stock. They could be if you want to check them out. But at that price, it still seemed good to me because it seems like that box can get to the high hundreds, maybe $200 eventually, and it'll be 100% gain or 80% gain. I'm happy with that. But when you start talking about like Pokemon Center price, if it gets up to that price, at that point, I'm thinking, I mean, I don't really see how high this box can go. It might be better to actually start moving to Scarlet and Violet era. As crazy as that sounds, right? Whereas maybe Battle Styles has a little more potential in the short term. But like, I feel like if you take like 3 years from now, I think like Paldea Evolved or something might outperform Battle Styles at the current prices. So, when you start getting down to Battle Styles, that's where the conversation really gets hairy. But like, man, for Brilliant Stars, Lost Origin, Silver Tempest, in my mind, it's a no-brainer. It's just like, if you can still buy those sets, I would get them. That's what I'm doing.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Is the price for Lost Origin and Brilliant Stars was above 144, right? So it just kind of made sense to go buy it off the Pokemon Center website if you wanted it because it was going to be cheaper than if you got off a TCG player. Obviously, we can sit here and make the argument, go somewhere else and buy it from the secondary market, but you get the point that I'm making if you had to buy between the two. Then, of course, what you saw was that selling out, and then all of a sudden everyone's mind all went to the same place, which is what's next. And you saw Silver Tempest, it's now sitting for around literally slightly below 150. So Silver Tempest is now at a point where it is above the price point of MSRP.
And sellers are starting to take down their listings. They were talking in my Discord this day, like some of the bigger sellers are starting to like take down their Silver Tempest listings. They're coming back up at higher prices. So everyone's very aware of this. You're probably not going to find those deals anymore. So you're right. It's there.
Yeah, and it wouldn't surprise me if Silver Tempest probably shot up to 160. I say shot up, but like, I mean, it's not a crazy gain, but still 70% is solid. And then went out of stock. But Battle Styles being at 124, 125, you have to ask yourself the question, right? Is it going to kind of do what Silver Tempest just did, where, all right, that's it. Battle Styles is like the last one available for Sword and Shield era boosters. It's now going to skyrocket up to 150 because otherwise, it's a matter of fact in my mind that it's not gonna really show any sort of signal of selling out anytime soon until the price of the booster is above that of MSRP. If because then it just doesn't make sense. Like if it's at 125 right now, it sells out on the Pokemon Center website. I mean, it's always possible, but that just seems kind of counterintuitive at that point. But who knows? I could be wrong. I feel like Astral got up to 150 before it sold out, and then it went up to 170 from there. So it took its time. It wasn't like, oh, it just, was at 130 for the longest time and then boom, sold out and skyrocketed to 170. Like, no, it had to break above MSRP prices on the TCG player market before it did anything.
Yeah, and that's gonna like Silver Tempest is there. It's gonna happen eventually here soon. I would just set your kind of alerts, like pay attention to see if Brilliant and Lost Origin get that one last restock before they kind of like Astral did, so you can still maybe jump in on a case. Silver Tempest, I would definitely be paying attention if you can pick it up lower than that 140 mark or whatever, 143 plus tax. Like I think that's a good pickup. Like I just think it's no brainers at this point. Battle styles, where I see it going, after Silver Tempest rises and they're all up, I could see it like mid like high hundreds maybe. Like I could see it in that like 160 to 190 range in the next year, like if everything else is up. And if that sounds good to you, then it's a good pickup. Like if you think you can put that money better and be better used somewhere else, then maybe leave it. It's like it's not that you have to buy every single set. Like there's always going to be plays. There's plays happening in every hobby, everywhere right now. It's like you don't have to catch every play. If Battle Styles doesn't seem like it makes sense to you, then hey, leave it and put more money into something else.
Well, I think the biggest argument really that you can make for Battle Styles at this moment in time, and this is I would argue is more of a long-term argument than it is short-term, but it's still applicable in my mind, is that Battle Styles is officially out of print. So at the end of the day, if you're going to be taking the risk of like comparing it to, let's say you're trying to get a booster box of around the same price, right? Obviously, the only real ones that are around the low 100s, it's Scarlet and Violet. My belief, and I feel like you and I can both agree on this, is that there's probably going to be a reprint for Paldea Evolved. Although I like Paldea Evolved more so as a set than Battle Styles, I do get fearful that it's going to get reprinted again at some point in the next end of year. And I don't have that feeling with Battle Styles. Battle Styles, it's out of rotation, right? So we know for a fact it's not going to get a print. So even if you say to yourself, Eli, like, I know it's a gamble, but it's not really a gamble because it's not like the price is going to go down. It will go up. It's just a matter of how long. And I don't have to be fearful of the fact that the price is just going to randomly tank because it's out of rotation. It's not going to get reprinted. It's going to stay in stock, and it's just a matter of time before it goes up in value. And regardless of how long that takes, I'm willing to take the time to wait. That's kind of the at least biggest argument I would make, because if you said to yourself, like, I'm going to go in and I'm going to go buy Battle Styles right now and I can find it for like $100 a box, $110 a box, like, I ain't going to be mad at you, because ultimately, if you're looking at this as a long-term play, you're going to win regardless. And you're not going to have to play the game of like getting in now and then it reprints 6 months, a year from now, and then all of a sudden you have to wait another year or two before the price finally goes up again. Like, you're gonna be safe knowing that if you do pick up Battle Styles, that it's either gonna go sideways or up at some point.
Yeah, I mean, all I know, man, this is fun right now. 2024 has been a blast. Like, it's just one thing after another. Like, what I'm actually like starting to think now that we're getting down to the end of it, and so Silver Tempest Battle Styles, like, gonna be interesting what's next, right? Like where's all this money and all this attention gonna go? Like it's pretty easy to see that it's all these sets right now. I mean, it's just kind of get whatever you can while you can, but I don't know. The future is very very confusing when you start to look at it.
Well, I just look at this in the same way that I've kind of started to learn to play things like I did last year, right? For those of you guys that know, I've got really heavy bags in Silver Tempest, Lost Origin, Brilliant. Most of it's in Lost Origin. I've got 14 cases in LO and then about 3 to 4 cases each in Brilliant and Silver Tempest, right? So for me, I've got like roughly around 10 grand in sets from Sword and Shield. And I felt confident going within these sets because I knew that once they got their print, they were going to go out of rotation, probably not get printed again. and prices were going to go up. Just made sense to me, right? Obviously, technically speaking, they're still in rotation, so there's always a chance, but it's very unlikely if we look at the history of what Pokemon has done during the fact of, battle styles chilling, evolving it, and fusion. It had the longest time to reprint them, and they never did. So I look at it in the same regard where, hey man, when it comes to this next holiday season, we're going to get reprints. We're going to get flash sale prices with Black Friday and more supply being readily available. I'm going to do the same thing. And it's not going to be a surprise, right? Because you're just going to see history once again repeat itself where prices get cheap because there's more supply for product over the holiday season. And then as soon as we go out of the holiday season, going into spring or end of spring into summer, and then seeing prices kind of go up right then and around there. So it's just an easy cycle where it's like, all right, cool. End of year happens. Now we're just waiting till March or April, and then prices are going to go up, and then you can kind of reevaluate from there. That's just kind of how I look at it, because it just, I mean, it was a risk worth taking regardless, because I felt like the long term for those sets were going to be strong, but I took a very heavy calculated risk just based off of the trends of prices go down, reprints happen in holidays, prices go up during spring, summer. And there's not a lot of product that's typically printed during the spring, the summer too. If there is, it's usually at some point in May. Like that's kind of it. Like that you'll see like some small tiny reprint happen, but for the most part, it's very rare in instances.
So what about the other side of this whole equation? Things are rising. You bought them at good prices. You're making money. Is there an exit strategy on any of this? An exit price point you're looking for?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. I mean, right now I'm letting it ride. Like, no doubt about it. I mean, prices, we're just now seeing this go out of the Pokemon Center website. So for me, it's basically just letting it ride over the summer going into the holiday season. And it's just kind of that simple, because I'm going to reevaluate, obviously, when I start to see what deals are going to happen. Because who knows? I mean, there's a complete argument I can see you making. This might sound crazy. People are going to think this is a crazy take. I could see Paldea Evolve going to 150 over the summer. Like, I don't think that's unrealistic. Like, because for me, that the minute all of the Sword and Shield products start to go out of stock, it's literally what happened over COVID. Like, I understand COVID's, you can say it's different, but not really. Because all COVID did was it showed us what happened when there's low supply. And so what we know so far is that there's going to more than likely be low supply over summer. And as the product starts to get more and more expensive for Sword and Shield, then people are going to have to, of course, buy booster boxes that are more affordable. And that's going to be found within Scarlet and Violet. And people are going to go to the ones they like the most. And that'll be Paldea Evolved. And that price is going to go up. Of course, my kind of bet on this, and this is obviously total like crystal balling it, right? Like this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. I would love to see if this happens, and I call this, I would love to see this, but if I'm wrong, it's whatever. The price of Paldea Evolve go to 150 sometime near the end of the summer and then get a reprint. That would just be the funniest thing to kind of witness, because at that point, this market just becomes even more predictable just based on the fact that the Pokemon company is at least like aware enough to realize like, hey, the supply of all of our high demand boxes are going out of stock. Now our lesser demand boxes, but still demand boxes in Scarlet and Violet are starting to go up in value. Now let's pick the ones that we think are the most needed to be reprinted with the prices that are right now, and then kind of go from there. That's kind of what I look at it.
Yeah, and here's kind of the other thing about that too is people hear reprint and they immediately think, oh my gosh, $80 a box. I don't think it would do that. That's the thing. Like, I think if that happened, if it went to 150 and got reprinted, I think it would perform a lot like Silver Tempest and Lost Origin did. I think it'd probably drop to like 110. Like, what do you think about that?
Probably 100. I think, well, it's never going to go to 80. Like, it's not going to do that because MSRP, or sorry, wholesale. Well, yeah, wholesale and MSRP prices are completely different, right? This isn't, Silver Tempest, Lost Origin prices where your booster boxes were $86, right? This is a different level of wholesale pricing. So for me, I think that, I think you could see at best case scenario, probably somewhere in like the low 90s. I mean, maybe even high 80s if they were to just dump the crap out of it. But your odds are it's probably going to be somewhere in the low 100s to like mid 90s, depending upon how much they really dump onto the market. Because I never want to underestimate how much a reprint can do in terms of damage. But I think most importantly, how they're going to handle the reprint. Because at the end of the day, Lost Origin and Silver Tempest could have easily tanked much more than they did. But the reason why they didn't was because the only way you could get access to the product was by buying them through bundles. And so if Pokemon Company says we're just going to reprint Paldea Evolve without any bundles, it can totally go down in price more. But if they do it with bundles, then you're probably looking out at a hard cap in bottom at around the low 100 price point.
I mean, I guess, or it just depends on how much they print, like you said. Like, I don't know. I'm under the belief, like, I just think people, I don't know. I think they have this like unrealistic expectation of, oh, I'm just not going to buy any Scarlet and Violet. And then when they reprint it, it's all going to go down in the high 80s, low 90s again. I'm going to pick it up a year later than everyone else. And it's like, dude, there's a world where like some of these sets, like Temporal Forces, Paldea Evolve, some of these better sets run up, like you said, to the 150s. And they get reprinted, and like maybe they do something weird with the bundles, bundling, or they do something like a lower printing amount, and they just never make it down there. They bottom out around 110, and they go back up because here's the thing that happens when reprints happen, right? Now everyone is under like agreement, like, okay, the reprint happened. It's been a year and a half. They're not going to make any more of this. And then all the people sitting on the sidelines all rush in, which really helps those items rebound pretty quickly, and they don't stay down there that long. And so you just want to be careful about always waiting for a reprint and thinking it's going to be like these great entry points. It's better, right? Because you can use your money in the meantime and not worry about it until a reprint comes. But it doesn't mean you're going to see this as good of deals as you do like, a month, 2 months, 3 months after release when stores are just trying to dump it and free up inventory and letting cases go for like 5-10 a case. Like you might not ever see that again with some of these sets.
Well, for me, how I look at it with reprints is it's almost like a confirmation for me. That's what I like about it the most. Because even if I say to myself, I could have gotten a better entry point with Elo and Silver Tempest at one point, I say to myself, okay, I've seen the demand that it's gotten to. And with that now being known, I feel like it's just a no-brainer. That's not to say, of course, it's a guarantee it's going to go back up to its previous highs. Obviously, looking at the Japanese market is a good example of that. But I have a lot more confidence in what English is doing in the market as a whole overall, to where, hey, if Evolving Skies gets a reprint, if Silver Tempest gets a reprint, if Lost Origin gets a reprint, if these Sword and Shield era boxes that we've seen go crazy in price get a reprint, we know it's going to rebound at some point. It's just a matter of time and how long that's going to take. Ultimately, there's always factors and caveats you have to play in with that, kind of like we discussed with Vivid Voltage, and its highest point was 240. It hasn't been anywhere near close to that, but it's been reprinted multiple times since then, and still, regardless, isn't close to that. But that had more, I think, to do with supply than it did the demand. And we've seen the exact opposite with these back half Sword and Shield era sets, where obviously supply played a factor, but it felt more so demand because of how quickly all of it was scooped up. I mean, it was instantaneous. It felt like after Lost Origin and Silver Tempest, like maybe a couple of weeks of it going in the low 100s before it eventually found its footing at around the 130, 140 for each of the boosters.
Yeah. No, I get it. One thing it kind of goes, not really to switch gears, but like take it a different direction. I just want to get your take on this, because this has become sort of a like agreed upon thing in the community. And I think it's a little like, it might be a little premature to just always be thinking this way. Okay. So I've been actually looking back at other eras, like all the eras of Pokemon, right? And even when you came in, like here, what's your favorite Diamond and Pearl set?
Majestic Dawn.
Okay. Majestic Dawn. What's like your second favorite?
That's a good question. I want to say probably, that's a harder one. It's either Stormfront or Arceus. It's one of the two. They're both tied for me, honestly.
I got you. Okay. My point is when you look back at all the other eras, right? Mm-hmm. It hasn't always been a rule that we've kind of came up with that Pokemon's going to release all the strongest sets at the end of the era. That is a Sun and Moon Sword and Shield specific rule. Like that, it has not always been that way. And so there is a chance that it doesn't always have to be that way. People talk about temporal forces. There's a world where temporal forces is one of the top sets just because it wasn't the last 4 or last 6 sets of the era. So like, what do you think about that? Do you think it's always just going to be the rule from now on because the last 2 eras? Because I mean, if you go to XY, I mean, Phantom Forces, Flashfire, like those are the strongest performance sets. So
well, it's it's funny you say that too, because I was like thinking about it and I was like, Stormfront and Arceus were both the last sets within each generation.
but your other one wasn't.
So I was like, but my first one wasn't. I think it was
Well, if
the
you look at like
last.
EX Team Rocket Returns, like that era, like that was near the beginning.
Yeah, well, Majestic Dawn was the third to last of Diamond and Pearl. So it went Stormfront being the last, and then Legends Awaken, and then Majestic Dawn, and then Arceus was obviously the last. But I mean, I think that's an argument you can obviously make for Evolving Skies. I mean, Team Up, right? That, yeah, of course. No, the last set is not always going to be the best set, but you're at least going to make an assumption that the last set's going to be strong.
It's just sort of this thing we've all kind of collectively accepted because of Sun and Moon and Sword and Shield, and so everyone's just kind of like sitting on their hands like, oh, I can't wait for the last 4 sets or the last 6 sets because that's when it's really going to get pumping. It's just like, I mean, that's been true for the last 2 eras, but like it hasn't always been the case, and to say it like it's a rule, I think it's a little dangerous for people.
I would agree that it's been that way since the EX era, so I might disagree with you on that, because for me, at least personally, right, as someone who's not the biggest fan of the XY era, sorry, Eeveelutions was one that got so many people back into the hobby, and a lot of people would argue that like Generation / like Eeveelutions are the best sets within the XY era, right? And then Black and White, hands down, like everyone like will say that Legendary Treasures is either their number 1 or their top 3. And then same thing goes.
Dragon's Exalted though.
I mean, Dragon's Exalted is a solid set, but Legendary Treasures is it's an incredible set. Legendary Treasures.
Here, I'm not trying to argue they're not going to have better sets, but my point is like to come up with this idea that all these early sets are not going to be as investable as the older ones. I don't agree with it.
No, that's fair. You're not making the argument that like the last set can't consistently be the best set. You're just saying that doesn't mean that any sets previous to that are going to be garbage.
Right. Like people saying that like, oh, like, a lot of people will say, oh, Temporal Forces, Paldea, Val, these kind of sets are going to get so overshadowed by the time the later sets come. No one's even going to want them. It's like, I don't know about that.
Yeah, because I was like, bro, going back to EX, freaking Dragon Frontiers, bro. Oh, man, Dragon Frontiers was sick. Especially Power Keepers, too. Because Power Keepers, obviously, you had some of the shiny EVs. But my favorite is still, I know obviously it has the shiny Charizard with Dragon Frontiers, but Gold Star Mew is like a grail card for me. I love that card so much. So it's like I get it. Like, trust me, I get it. Like, there's no denying that like you tend to see stronger second halves for sure. Like I would at least agree with that to some semblance, but man, it is to say that you can find value out of some of the earlier sets. You can, because if you look at the Sun and Moon era, right? I mean, Ultra Prism obviously found its footing, right? Celestial Storm has still done well. Lost Thunder has still done well, right? Obviously, Sword and Shield era had a lot like shorter of a beginning half, because if you really think about it, it was base set, Rebel Clash, Darkness, Vivid, and that was it in terms of booster box sets.
But I mean, hey, think about Chilling. I mean, Chilling's basic what? So Chilling would be like Twilight Masquerade, but like Battle Styles is like Temporal Forces. So it's like, it's not
in terms of timing. Yeah. But also it's hard to compare too, because like that means we're saying we're 1-for-1 comparing it to Sword and Shield because it's the last set. But if you look at it for like the Sun and Moon era, that's like saying right now that, I mean, let's take a look. Set 4, that's like saying Paradox Rift is Crimson Invasion, and like Forbidden Light is Twilight's a Masquerade, which Forbidden Light most people were not fans of, right? But then you can also comparatively say like Ultra Prism is like Paldea Evolved, right? Like there's so many different ways you can kind of like make examples to like, hey, there's been some good sets. I mean, I would argue that I like Phantom Forces. I know it's not like a heavy set, but like I think Phantom Forces is good. And I think that when Noble Victories came out and there was a huge love for noble victories in black and white because of the innovation behind the alternate arts. It wasn't, or the full arts. It wasn't like we had to wait till the back half to get full art cards. So, I mean, you can have good sets at any point within the generation. It's just a matter of when do the best, like top best sets. It's usually at the back half, but that doesn't mean that you should ever just rule out the first half of sets, because they can still provide extreme amounts of value for you to invest in.
Agreed. As much as the chat wants us to really get at each other's throats.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like, I mean, it's not hard to say. Like, you look at black and white and you say, yeah, like, don't get me wrong. Like, when Noble Victories came out, when Dark Explorers came out, everyone was really excited. Everyone liked those sets. But then you look at Plasma Storm, Plasma Freeze, and Legendary Treasure, you're like, crazy good sets. I mean, same thing goes with like the Platinum era, because the cool thing about like Diamond and Pearl Platinum, they're technically a part of the same generation, right? Was the introduction to the shinies in the reverse rare shinies. That was something that obviously was brought in Stormfront to round out Diamond and Pearl, and then going into Platinum. I mean, you had the Arceus subsection, you had the Rotoms, you had the golden Pokemon, you had the like you had the, like I said, the shinies. Like, there was so many good ones. I mean, heck, man, for a base set, like Platinum base set, like maybe I'm biased on this. I think Platinum base set is an incredible base set. I think it's such a good base set when you look at it, because you still have some really cool, like, I know obvious, like, oh, it's hollows, but like you can pull some of the like Gen 1 hollows. You can get reprinted gold star cards where they have like a gold star Hitmonchan and a gold star, like, or not gold star, sorry, just gold card Hitmonchan and Electabuzz. That's like a reprint 1-for-1 card of like base set Pokemon, which some people might not care, but like that's a huge nostalgic appeal. And then you're also going to get some cool shiny Pokemon with like a shiny Lotad, a shiny Swablu, which are really cool, like shiny design Pokemon on top of the level X cards and like the shiny Vulpix and other such things. Like, I think it's like, for a base set, it's a really strong base set in my personal opinion. So you can easily see that happen. You know, I don't know. That's my thoughts.
All right, no, that was good. Let's go even further. Let's get really spicy here. Well, first of all, I got to shout out. If anyone has a Flareon V, the Sword and Shield promo 179 and a 10, reach out to me. It's the only Eeveelution I'm missing out of the alt arts. So, but that brings me to my point. Are Eeveelutions becoming the main chase in the hobby over Charizard himself?
Okay, so before I answer that question, I also should probably give a shout out to if you have any Diamond, Pearl, Platinum Pokemon packs, hit me up. I'm interested in buying some. I've gotten really nostalgic lately, and I'm wanting to open some. So,
aren't those weighable?
Huh?
Aren't those weighable?
Well, yeah, of course they're weighable.
Wouldn't everyone who has them just sell light packs?
Well, I would hope they don't lie to me about it. I mean, if someone asks me if my packs are weighable, I'll answer the question.
All right.
I mean, and plus, not a lot of people know what the actual weights are on them. But regardless, if you have some, whether they're weighted, unweighted, sealed case or not, just let me know. What was I gonna say?
What do you think?
Yeah, make sure, guys, we're at 150. We're at 150 viewers right now live. Make sure to leave a like, comment down below, subscribe. Really helps the channel. And as mentioned, man, if you want to get access to Magic, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Flesh and Blood, and so much more at wholesale prices, got the wholesale program down in the description below. And if you have any, or down in the down with the link below. And if you have any questions about the program or want to be a part of the community, make sure you join the Discord. But
here, we'll take it one step further. All right, I'm gonna throw something at you. Give me your take. Ready? In the chat, you can give your takes too. They do a set. They throw SIRs in the set of Charizard, Umbreon, Gengar, Giratina, Lugia, something like that. Like, where do they end up? Like, where does Charizard, Umbreon, Giratina, Gengar, how would that end up, do you think? Is all the same hit rates in the same set in today's day and age?
It's hard because well, Well, okay, so it's really hard because there's so much that goes into it with rarity. Like, let's say in your example, the rarity is all the same, right? Then I feel like this might come off as a hot take. I think it comes down to artwork.
That's what people are saying.
I think artwork, because if you look at Rayquaza, I feel like historically Rayquaza has been a much stronger character than Eeveelutions. I'm not even pinpointing an Eevee Pokemon. Listen, I love Eevees. Like, I'm biased to some regard, but like Eevees are my favorite Pokemon. I love Eeveelutions.
I think
They're
it's shifting, man.
incredible. Huh?
I just think it's shifting.
I and so for me, but of the Eevees that are my favorite, who would have guessed it? It's Leafeon Glaceon, right? Because I'm a Gen 4 sellout. But Umbreon, I thought Umbreon was a cool Eevee. I like Umbreon as an Eevee, but it was never my number one. But the reason why Umbreon performed better than the Rayquaza is because the artwork is incredible. It is such an amazing artwork. To me, I was like, oh my God, this card is so sick. I remember when it came out, it was my favorite one before prices were even putting it at where it was. And that obviously played a factor into the driving price. I mean, I've talked about this before with Aerodactyl, right? Aerodactyl is a Pokemon I have no care for in the world, but it is one of the coolest alternate arts that I've ever seen. Like, the art design's incredible on it. So for me, if you were to say, let's put all of the cards in a set, I think that they're all going to be really relative to whatever their art design are. If we're all just making the argument, they're on the same rarity level.
I'm really anxious to see this era because if there's an Eeveelution set, if maybe now or an Umbreon, it's just, we're starting to see it across the board. It seems like there's a shift in what people want, because I even looked at, like, I've been looking at some XY sets, and the full art Umbreon is now more expensive than the secret rare Alakazam and Fates Collide. And like, we're seeing that happen. Like, the Umbreon VMAX trainer gallery from Brilliant Stars is now like $150 PSA 10. Like, it just seems like Umbreon has the people's attention, and the Brilliant Stars Charizard, I guess people can just say the art's not good enough. And so it'll be interesting to see if a good art Charizard, a good art Umbreon kind of clash, because I don't know, man. We might be in an era where Charizard's losing this luster.
I
Because the sets Charizard's been in, it's only been against the Mew, and it's at 151. It's just against the regular 151, and then the other Charizard.
I don't think it's also a hot take to say that, like, the alternate art designs, listen, they're doing good for what they're working with, but I don't give a crap about the crowns. Like, the literal crowns with the Terra typing, it takes away so much from it. Like, obviously, you didn't have that with the regular Charizard from 151. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, you had that obviously with Paldea Fate or Paldean Fates, and you had that with Obsidian Flames, where they had the crowns in them. And for what it was, at least with Paldean Fates, they did a much better job than they did Obsidian. But, for me, I look at that and I say to myself, it's more of a set issue, because the strength of the set as a whole is just so weak. And it's hard for me to say that if the set itself doesn't have a strong supporting cast within it, it doesn't also affect the main value, because it does. Like, it has to, because if you have a set that has a standalone Pokemon and that's the only Pokemon that people care about, it's going to have high value, but people are only going to care up into that Pokemon. But if you have a set that has so many desirable Pokemon and it draws in so much high amounts of demand because everyone wants that set for different reasons, then it's going to artificially drive up the price of the cards, because more packs are going to be open, more packs are going to be desired within that set, because everyone just wants that set for different reasons, and the value within that set of the cards are going to go up because the demand for that just set overall is going to be so much.
How do you feel about the artwork of the Brilliant Stars Charizard?
I think it's okay. I think it's, like, decent. Like, obviously it's kind of cool to see, like, I think it's is it the Ivysaur that it's fighting against, if I'm
Venusaur.
correct?
The
Venusaur. So it's fighting against the Venusaur.
I mean, I think that's freaking awesome.
I think it's cool, but I don't think it's something that, like, wows me,
My point is like, Brilliant Stars is objectively more value, higher price set than Silver Tempest, but the Lugia's more valuable. Why?
Why is the Lugia more valuable? Because I think the Lugia art's way cooler. that's just me personally. I was really high. If you watch my video when we were talking about Silver Tempest coming out, I was really high on the Lugia artwork. I think it's a really cool artwork.
So even though the set isn't as valuable, the box isn't as valuable, it's still like, you know what I'm saying, from your other argument about like,
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. But also, to be fair, there was way more printed of Silver Tempest product as well, which for like boosters. Like obviously there was more printed for product outside of just Silver Tempest. Like you had Silver Tempest sleeved and the whole God boxes and everything. But like in terms of the overall value of the card itself, there's still an inherent demand that I think is higher for the Lugia because the Lugia has an incredible art design, even past the fact that the booster boxes are cheaper. Because when Brilliant did get its reprint, quote unquote, it got a very tiny reprint. It was probably a fifth or a tenth of the reprint that we got from Silver Tempest. Like literally when I got news of a Brilliant reprint, it was basically like, hey, if you want Brilliant, we've got 3 or 4 cases we can give you total. And that was kind of it. And it's going to be bundled. Versus for Silver Tempest Lost Origin, it was, hey, we can give you as many as you want for as many bundles as you order. And we ordered $150,000 to $200,000 worth of Silver Tempest and Lost Origin in the program. Like I didn't even have a chance to offer it to people in the program because the amount of Brilliant I had available wasn't enough to split up equally to like the amount of people we had. So for me, it's like on 2 different wavelengths when it comes to the amount of supply that there was compared to the 2 sets.
Yeah. No, I'm with you, man. I'm with you. I like it. I mean, I think it's pretty unanimous. People are just really into the arts, and the arts is really going to carry it. You know, and then like you said, the set value. I like it. I like the answer. I didn't. By the way, I didn't have like an answer in mind, or I just wanted to hear people's thoughts. It was good.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, I mean, listen, like Magikarp's cool and all, but like Magikarp being one of the most expensive cards, and it's not even an SIR.
Magikarp's always had a following. I mean, think of Shiny Magikarp and Neo Rev and.
Okay, but that's different though. That's different. The shiny Magikarp's iconic. Okay. Shiny Magikarp's iconic, or which, as crazy as it sounds, having a shiny version versus a non-shiny version, it's going to hold something different. It's like a Gyarados versus a shiny Gyarados. That shiny Gyarados compared to a regular Gyarados is going to carry so much harder because of the nostalgia behind that with Gen 2.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, man. Like it's
like the art design for it is so cool with the Magikarp. And I mean the Magikarp right now, it's selling for like $100 if I'm correct, which is wild. It's literally is it the most expensive card now? Did it pass the Iono?
Yeah, it's the most expensive card in the set. I think the most expensive card in the era is still the Paldean Fates Charizard.
It's literally just an illustration rare, dude. That's all it is.
It goes Paldean Fates Charizard, 151 Charizard, and then I think it goes Magikarp as third in the entire.
It's a gorgeous card. It's a gorgeous card.
I think what it is, people are just obsessed with that art. Like that's why that's why the Giratina is where it's at. They just love that artist.
Yeah, I think you have to take both into consideration, right? What's the character? What's the art? And then if they're both high valued characters, one can be a more slightly valued character than the other. But if the one that is less valued of a character has a better art design, I think it will win.
And this is why I like asking these questions, because like, you know, I like to get a feel for what a lot of people are looking for and thinking, and that kind of helps map out a plan of like how you're going to make plays in the future on certain cards or certain investments. Because obviously, like I don't really think a lot of the way that other people do, especially when it comes to this stuff. Like I would never buy most cards like based on art, but a lot of other people do, right? So it makes sense.
Yeah, I mean. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely different components. I mean, obviously Majestic Dawn is my favorite set, not because it has the best artwork, but because it's extremely nostalgic to me and it has the characters I love. But also at the end of the day, like there's still so many artworks I can appreciate outside of it if it does have a character that I desire. And even if it doesn't have a character I desire, I still think certain art designs are going to trump like the Aerodactyl. I was like, holy crap, love the Aerodactyl card. I don't care about Aerodactyl, but for some reason I can't stop talking about this card. Like when it came out, you know, it was it was something to behold, that's for sure.
Let's take Brett's like statement he just made about PokeRev? Because I think it's not about PokeRev, but he said PokeRev is doing video on Elo. Buckle up, Buttercup. Price is going to jump. So it's not that I'm saying that's not going to
Is that
happen.
the name of the title?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. What I wanted to say though is I hope everyone out there doesn't think this is like a pump right now, like a pump and dump. Like this stuff is rising very organically. And even though it's rising quickly, it doesn't mean there's anything organic. It's not because YouTubers are pushing it. And I think that perspective is always thrown around every time things have a move up. It's always, oh, it's because of these PokeTubers. It's because of PokeRev or whatever. It's like, yeah, they have effect here and there, but Lost Origin was going to do this no matter what anyone said. When Lost Origin went out of stock on Pokemon Center, this was going to happen, right? It was already 170 a box when it was 140 there. When people can no longer get it there and they have to go to the open market, there's nowhere for it to go but up with the amount of demand that's on it. And so I wouldn't read into like any PokeTuber videos or like Cool Trainer Ryan chasing a card or PokeRev talking about it too much. Like, yeah, it helps, but it's not something that's going to like jump up and get crashed back down after the popularity's gone. These are things that are most likely going to stay and continue to rise higher as time goes on.
Yeah. One thing someone also asked was they said if BS boosters were printed so much less than STLO, why hasn't it been sold out then for as long as it's been available? The only thing I can really say to answer that is I don't know the numbers on the demands behind Pokemon Center. I can only tell you the numbers from the LGS and like online retailer perspective. I can tell you my numbers, what we have, and what the demand is going to look like on what distributors have on their pages. But Pokemon Center website is a whole different animal of its own. And the only thing I can really obviously say or track to that is, okay, is it in stock? Is it not in stock? And that's as kind of good as it goes, right? Because ultimately we have no clue how much like brilliant product was sitting at the Pokemon Center website before or after the reprint, because it was in stock while there was no reprint available yet for Brilliant. So it was at the 144 price. I mean, heck, boosters were literally at pushing $200 for Brilliant, and it was still selling on the Pokemon Center website for 144. But yet the prices were at 200. How does that make any sense? It doesn't. And then it gets reprinted and it continues to stay on the Pokemon Center website until finally, after another reprint happened and like 7-8 months later, like here we are. So it's like some of these things are kind of unexplainable because I don't know the details behind the scenes of how much supply there was on the Pokemon Center website. All I can really speak to is what I know on the distributor side and the LGS side and the numbers that I was given, as well as what we saw on distro pages and how long things were in stock for and how much we could order.
Yeah, and someone talking about the Umbreon V surpassing other Eeveelution VMAXs. Yeah, so obviously that was probably helped by PokeRev, brought it to more people's attention. I'm not saying certain cards can't see pumps and dumps. It's just like the sealed product. We don't usually seal it with sealed. Like usually when sealed reaches new levels, it can stagnate. It can maybe trail off, give back 5-10% time to time. But we usually over time it continues higher. So I was more talking about sealed, Jason, less about like single cards seeing pumps like we've seen lately. But no, like Eli said, it's 100% right about the product. Like I think there's definitely like a range it'll trade in while it's still at Pokemon Center. But yeah, they can get to 180, 200 while they're still there.
Yeah. Oh man, so much to guess. So much to guess.
Oh, I got one here. This is a good one. Derek Page.
Hold on.
So it's like, yeah. When you guys see a set that's a no-brainer investment like Lost Origin, Eli on Pal D, Valve, like you, Alex, how many cases or booster boxes do you set as a goal to purchase and hold?
Do you want to go first or do you want me to go?
Yeah, so for me, it's hard because, I mean, like everyone, I don't have unlimited amounts of money, right? And so it depends on how much other things I have going on. So like I had been making huge plays on alt arts recently. I have mass amounts of alt arts right now. And so like, I don't have tons of, infinite liquid funds to go load up as much as I want on other things. So I try to like balance it out as much as I can with what I have. But, like Paldea Eval, I said it before, I want to have, 10 cases or so of Paldea, and then I'll kind of feel it out. Like if a reprint comes and it doesn't do that much to it, or a reprint doesn't come and we're 2.5 years, maybe I'll pick up some more. But like, yeah, I like to have pretty large positions of those things. And like sets like, battle styles or like obsidian flames, maybe only like 2-3 cases, something like that is where I like to stay.
It's interesting because I'll kind of answer this question within my own just personal situation that I was in. So I've kind of talked about this a couple of times, but my goal is eventually to own a home. And for me, I know that obviously Lost Origin Silver Tempest is something that like is super high demand, but product in general is not extremely liquid unless the prices just skyrocket, right? So I said to myself, all right, I want to buy a home in a year from now is kind of my goal from when the reprint was happening, right? Back in like September, October. I wanted to get a home sometime at this point, end of this year, right? And so I said, what's a comfortable amount of money that I can put in and go heavy to where if I'm right, I'm going to make a crap ton of money. And if I'm wrong, at worst case, I can always liquidate all this product and hopefully I break even and it's not going to like kill me. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, I felt like it was a risk where I could make so much money off of this kind of no-brainer pickup, but I didn't know when it was going to be a matter of time of selling because I wanted to make sure that I was going to be able to sell at some point leading up to when it was time for me to get money for a down payment on a home. So that was kind of where my thought process was in this entire thing. And that's kind of where I came up on. It was roughly around $10,000. I said, all right, cool. I've dumped about $10,000 into this. I feel pretty comfortable with the fact that, this is not like a crazy amount of money in my mind where I'm just dumping like 30, 40, $50,000, especially considering at the time, $10,000 was like 50% of our liquidity that we had. And so it's enough to where if I'm right, fantastic. But if I'm wrong, all right, cool. It's still going to be high demand. It's probably going to rebound. I feel comfortable enough selling it. Now, hypothetically, let's say you take that out of the situation of me owning the home. It's also hard for me to say I wouldn't go heavier because I was talking to Alex about this before, but we also don't have a crystal ball. There's no way for me to predict that it could have gone this high. I knew it was going to go up in value. It was just a matter of how high, how fast. So, hindsight's 2020 with that. And so there's just so many things you have to obviously factor within that situation, but going hard in the paint in what you think is a tolerable amount of risk is something that is always worth considering, I think is my point at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's no one size fits all answer, like for anyone. I mean, what kind of risky plays you want to make, how large you want to go, how long you want to hold. Like, some people are selling right now, like with Fusion Strike, Chilling Reign, Lost Origin, like they're taking their gains. They, whatever it may be, it's like there's no right or wrong answer. It's just make sure you're going into this with like a realistic time frame, realistic gains you're looking to make, and I think you'll be successful. Like the people who aren't successful are the ones that do everything off emotion and they don't really have a plan and they kind of get affected with every whim of the market or every whim of a YouTube channel, and they don't go into it with the right mind, right time frame in mind and those types of things. So as long as you don't do those things, you'll probably be all right.
Yeah. Here's an interesting question. Been trying to catch your life for a couple days, Alex. I'd like to make a point. I think you'll agree with. Too many people focus on Pop Report, where like PPP. What they're not factoring in is this.
PPP. I don't know what PPP is. The PPP loans.
What is PPP? There is a term. It's like population pristine. I can't remember what PPP stands for. It stands for. It's like a.
Chat, help us out.
It is an abbreviation. I'm trying to remember what.
Papa. Nah.
Pika Pika Pika. There you go.
Oh, maybe Pika Pika Papa. It really focuses on that. Does he? I thought he was like more of a modern guy. I don't know.
Pika Pika.
This is always going to be the argument. Like this is going to be the absolute end all be all argument for anyone that collects like vintage cards and hates on modern, which it's always going to be the pop reports. And I was just on the phone with someone today. We were talking about it, and we're talking about there's tons of cards you can look up that have 200, 300, 400 pop reports, and there's barely any listed on the market, and they're still not going for any money. They're still $500, $600, $700, $800 cards. And you'll go to a booth at Collecticon and or another event, which I've talked to people, and they said this to me. They said, I went to a booth, they had a vintage side, they had a modern side on their cases, and they were relatively similar cards. Like they had high-end high-end alt-arts, high-end tag teams, all going for, $800, $1,000, $1,200. They had the same thing with vintage cards, PSA 10s, $5, $6, $7, $8, $900, $1,000, PSA 10 vintage cards. And you loop back around later that day, most all the modern were gone, most all the vintage were sitting there. And what vintage people will say is these people are so stupid. These cards are X amount of years old. They have 400 pop. The cards they're buying have 5,000 pop. They have no clue what they're doing. And it's the issue when you look at one side of the equation. When you don't look at the demand side and you're only focused on the supply, it gives you a skewed view of how the market views things. And so, I agree with you. The pop reports are a great tool. It can definitely help with with plays you're making, but don't make it the end all be all, because when you marry the pop reports, you're going to live and die by that sword.
Yeah. Oh, and one thing I will say about pop reports too, and I've kind of always talked about this as well, is within any market, right? In order for Pokemon to make more money consistently, they need more people to be spending. They need higher demand within the market. They need to draw a bigger audience, right? What we see as a low pop right now and what others see as a high pop right now in the future is going to be like, my belief is that population report right now for 10,000 seems high, but in the future 10,000 is going to be a low pop report. Like, it sounds crazy to say that, but like,
speaking of that, if you guys look at sports cards, some of those have pop reports in like 30, 40,000s, right? There was a recent interview. Jeff Wilson interviewed the PSA CEO, I believe. I think it was a CEO. And he asked him a question near the end of it. And he asked him like how TCGs were doing. He said, depending on the months, Pokemon and TC, like I think it was Pokemon in general, can actually eclipse the amount of cards being graded even more than baseball. And he said TCGs is becoming one of their biggest categories, even bigger than sports. One Piece is right behind Pokemon. It's now eclipsed Yu-Gi-Oh! And so these new card games and these TCGs, they're becoming the main thing that people are grading. That's how much popularity they have. They're eclipsing what sports popularity is. That's wild. And so when you think about that and where things continue to grow, this is all going to look like small numbers, I believe, in the next 10 years.
Yeah. So it's very strange. I'm from Europe. It's been quite difficult to get any Brilliant Star booster box under €160 for the last 12 months. Well, that's kind of hard though, because it's all so different depending upon the market you're in. I mean,
does it matter though? Like, if no one else can get boxes over there without paying, shipping and import charges and all that, like, wouldn't the market just regulate? Like, if everyone else is buying at this price, and they would have to buy on the secondary market at a different price. So it's like, if our boxes go from 150 to 200, wouldn't yours go from €160 to €200? Or I don't know. Well, it seems like it would move up at the same rate. No,
I don't know. It's hard because I feel like
we're paying $100 out of the gate here, and they're paying €110. You're starting out at a higher dollar. Maybe they move up at a higher. I don't know if that.
So I want to preface by saying this: I am not someone that is an expert on what's going on in the European market when it comes to Pokemon. So this is just kind of me taking a wild guess as to why, right? The United States market, and more particular when it comes to our just general GDP, we have the highest GDP out of any country in the world. You look at the top 3 countries behind us, we literally have a greater GDP than all 3 of them combined. So in my mind, when I look at the United States as a whole, and you look at the market as a whole, especially with Pokemon prices, right? It makes sense in a lot of instances for people that don't live in the States to buy product from the States, because you can sometimes get it cheaper, even after shipping, even after import fees and everything, because of the amount that is going to be manufactured, because the market is just so much bigger, right? Now, with that being said, that doesn't necessarily mean that the markets are connected with one another. That doesn't mean that if Lost Origin goes up in Europe or Lost Origin goes up in the US, that all of a sudden that it must go up in the other continent or countries. I think it more just has to do with the fact of the matter that ultimately at the end of the day, there's such a discrepancy within the two, and one country is more prevalent when it comes to the manufacturing of this product. I mean, I've talked to a lot of people within Europe, and I've asked them questions about like European distributors, and there's basically one, just I can't remember what the name is of them, but there's one in particular, and they're basically the only one. Like here in the United States, we've got a laundry list full of distributors that have multiple different warehouses in multiple different countries, or sorry, multiple different states all around the country. So like there is so much. I mean, like I was saying the other day, right? Like I feel like such a small fish as someone who with Paradox Rift, we ordered 5,000 or 5,000. Ooh, we ordered 2,000 boosters for Paradox Rift, right? But you also have to think, right? I am the number 3 supplier for Pokemon product within our warehouse with our distributor that we have,
Pretty
right?
weak, man. You gotta get those numbers up.
Now look at where I am compared to your like other parts of the country where you go to like the East Coast. Like where do I rank with them, right? And that's literally just within this one warehouse. There's probably someone who's top 3 in multiple different warehouses or top 2 in multiple different warehouses. Like there's so much supply that people I feel like aren't really taking into consideration when you look at just how big the United States is when it comes to the overall GDP and manufacturing of Pokemon product as a whole. Hopefully that makes sense. I mean, it like I said before, this is just kind of my general thought process behind it as to why, but I could be 100% off base on this, but that's just kind of me spitballing. I don't know if you have any thoughts on it.
That's all we can do, man. Like we don't know what other countries do.
Yeah. Ben says, as much as us in the UK have the trickle down from the US supply, it must really suck being on a continent because the supply is way smaller. America dictates the market for a reason. I mean, Ben's not wrong on that one.
There's a lot of sad truths out there.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because it's always funny too, because I think we've talked about this before. Like, when you look at the United States, it's obviously one country, but like there's 50 different states within it, and it's got an enormous. I mean, we're at 360, 370 million people. Like the size of the US amounts to multiple European countries. I mean, you can literally drive through all of Italy in the same rate as you would in some of the larger states within the US, like Texas. Like it's crazy to think about some of the landmass behind that. Like literally people and driving and commuting within the US, it's such a regular occurrence. Whereas like if you look at other European countries, they have the rail systems, and there's just such a like a continuity, I would say, when it comes to the differences between how each both country or countries or continents operate. It's definitely fascinating to see the main differences. I'm not in the US, and I always order from US market using third parties like Ship My Cards, and it's cheaper to me than buying locally, or in case it's no one is selling or no stock available locally. See, I don't know where you live, Afir, but one of the things I have seen a big complaint about with because obviously like when it comes to the wholesale program, we do offer the ability to service people that don't live in the US, but we always say, hey, find yourself a middleman provider. We have Ship My Cards because they do service in Arizona and Oregon, which is funny enough, the two places that we that our storefronts are. So it's like easier for us. But the problem is because of like the shipping costs to certain countries and the taxes that come with it when it comes to importing, it still can be extremely expensive for some people. So it's really difficult because it's such a case by case basis on whether you're someone that lives in the UK or the EU, and et cetera, et cetera. What?
Just reading crypto cold.
I knew you were gonna say that. I knew you were gonna say that.
No comment. No comment.
I don't really watch him.
Comment,
So.
Eli. Get in the drama, dude.
Dude, I would love to say something about someone who I don't really follow at all. Just make wild blanket statements, even though
Yes,
I
do
can't
it.
even
That's what we're
recall.
here for.
What it is, so I know Rattle because of like people have obviously mentioned like, oh, you know Rattle Pokemon, but I honestly don't even know what his content is. Like I don't watch his content at all.
It's all about like trying to find scammers like out like, in the Pokemon hobby.
Oh,
Like,
you
all
must
out.
be on his channel a lot, dude. That's crazy. No.
Well, here's the funny part. Like he always, I don't watch anymore. Like I told everyone, I unsubscribed to like a lot of people because I'm done with all the BS. But I remember like he would always call out people and then say, "Hey, you're always available to come on and defend yourself." They never do. Like I would love him to put me on one time because hell yeah, I'll go on that channel and defend myself. I'd love to have a debate with that dude about anything. Like because it's so the stuff he comes out with is like all like hearsay type evidence or like oh it's there's very rarely ever any concrete evidence. It's always like, well, he dealt with this person who knows this person and then this event happened so he had to be involved. It's like I get, but the way he structures it, he's smart. He does it in a way to really like create doubt and like people get on board like, oh yeah, that guy's got to be a scammer. And I'm watching objectively like, I mean, I don't know this guy, but I don't know if he really proved anything here. It's one of those types of things.
Yeah.
All
right, where are we right now? We're at about an hour and 5. So I feel like we always go for an hour and a half, hour and 45, but I swear this time we got to cut it shorter because it's supposed to be an hour stream, but we always go over. So let's do a couple more questions and then wrap it up. I think it's a good.
Just think of it as like an encore, dude. They want more. We stay on.
They want more, baby. We got good numbers, that's for sure.
BC3, like I'll respond to that. Like, of course, NN doesn't like Rattle. It's not that I don't like him. I'm indifferent. Like the only thing I'm saying is that people take a lot of what he says for fact when a lot of it there's not really any facts given. It's just a bunch of like kind of circumstantial evidence or like things that like can be drawn conclusions to, but like never any like smoking gun type thing. And I don't like that. Like it gets a lot of people on board to hate on someone when there hasn't been anything proven about it. And so that's what I don't like. That's it.
Is it worth holding Sun and Moon full art trainers and alt arts or sell them to get more Sword and Shield stuff like booster boxes and slabs?
I like the alt arts more than the full art trainers. I don't know if that waifu boom's gonna come back around. the popular Pokemon and alt arts, I think that will stand the test of time.
Well, I think it's a hard question for me to answer because I mean, we've been kind of talking about it now. I think that you've been watching the prices go down. So it just depends on when you bought in. Obviously, like if you bought in really cheap and you're like, I want to take profits, then yeah, it's a good time to sell. But like if you got in and you've seen the price correct and you're trying to jump ship because you feel as if you want to not miss out on another opportunity, that's not the worst play by any means because I don't anticipate the alternate art cards for Sun and Moon to like kind of find their floor yet. So like, yes, I could, but also at the same time, a part of me is like looking at the floor potentially coming up here at some point for the Sun and Moon era alternate arts. And I'm like, all right, when do I want to hop in? Because I do want to get some of the Sun and Moon alternate arts relatively soon here because I think there's gonna be a good opportunity because of just the art designs and how high demand they are in general. But I don't know. It's hard to say. If you look at, I mean, if you just look at the charts face value, it's really tough because if you look at like the monthly, like let's pull up like the Mega Sableye and the Tyranitar, for example,
I mean,
right? If you look at it, it's basically been going sideways for the past month, which, hey, maybe that's a sign that it's stopped. But then if you look at the yearly chart, you're like, oh, it was at 175. Now it's at 120. Like, like that's significant drop.
Yeah, and like I don't know, I'm just looking at like the newer sets. It just seems like the waifus are having less of an effect, right? Like you see the Bianca in Temporal Forces not doing crazy numbers. Like Erica's Invitation fell off like crazy. The SIR is way down in value. Like it just seems like the whole waifu boom seems to not. I just don't know if the waifus are full art trainers like that are going to recover the same way. Is all I'm saying.
So just to add more context, he said, I bought everything I have from Sun and Moon at least half their market value now, if not less. Then I ain't mad at you selling it. I'm not mad at it. Like, obviously you would have wished to have sold closer to the top, but you can't always predict the top. And if you're saying you bought it for like half of where it is now, you're still up an exorbitant amount. And for you to reevaluate the position with the expectation that things are going to go sideways or down, then I don't think it's a bad play to say, hey, look, I see other things that are popping off right now, like Lost Origin, Brilliant, Silver Tempest, other booster boxes that have just been really solid plays, and just kind of reshifting your funds into a position that's going to at least move, right? I mean, it's kind of like the conversation we have all the time about, hey, when's it a good time to kind of call closing out a position, whether I'm in the red or in the green, because I want to use those funds to move into something that's going to make me money, right?
Absolutely. And it's hard to always tell that, right? It's hard to always make the right decisions. You just have to, do those calculations for yourself.
Yeah. Someone said, I assume they're asking the question, Fusion at 215. What do you guys think? I guess they're saying if it's a good price to pick it up. I mean, it's selling on like 250, 260 on TCG players. So
Are they saying it's down to that?
I don't think so. I think that doesn't really give us context.
I'm gonna
I
check.
think they're basically just saying that as in like, should I pick it up at that price? That's
New
my
sales. So sale yesterday, 251 today, 252.99, 240. I think that was plus shipping. No, that's a great price if you can get it for that.
Yeah, that's the question. Oh, this is an interesting one. Rattle coming with the GoFundMe after someone came after him legally was where I checked out. If your brand is speculating wildly, yeah, that's what may happen.
I mean, and Rattle's got like a cult following. Are people defending him in the chat? Here's the thing, guys. Nothing against Rattle. And here's the thing. People have said, like, in the chat too, it's like, yeah, he's done good things, right? With the Blake's breaks and then Logan Paul. Like, I'm not saying he hasn't done good things. I'm not saying he's never had evidence on things. What I'm saying is a lot of it, just having to make content every single day, you're obviously going to put out some more subpar content. I think everyone does. And, some stuff that isn't really researched as well, isn't real evidence, just trying to go after people for the sake of going after them or piggybacking off other stories. And I'm just not about that. Like, I have zero interest in hearing people try to like come at people just for things they do. Like, I mean, mystery packs. Like, there's nothing wrong with mystery packs. Like, legitimate companies make mystery packs. Like, just being against them doesn't mean you're a scammer. Doesn't mean. And then like just things people have done in the community, like with the whatnot streams and things, like just going after people for doing things that you disagree with is crazy. Now, I'm not taking away for anything he's done good. It's just, it's not my cup of tea to listen to someone try to, pull or connect a bunch of different dots and try to make someone out to be a bad guy when maybe they're really not. And I think if people like really listen deeply, you can see like how the narrative is trying to be spun a certain way, and the evidence is kind of weak. And so that's my only interaction. I really don't care. He can keep doing his thing. Like I'm not trying to start anything with Rattle.
Do you see the other question on screen?
Will Garatina be the next 1K? I would love for Gengar to get there, but it'll probably be Garatina before Gengar.
Where's Umbreon right now?
13, 14, somewhere in there.
And where's Gengar?
Gengar is like in this like mid 7s now. I don't know if it's 8 yet.
Is there another other than the Umbreon? Are there any others that are in the Sword and Shield era that are over a K?
No, that's it. I'm thinking of probably like Gengar, Garatina. I don't know. Maybe like one of the other Evolving Skies like cards might get there before another set. Like maybe like the Rayquaza VMAX would be after Gengar. I don't know.
That would be interesting to see the Rayquaza. Where's the Rayquaza now? Let me take a look.
I have, dude. Everything's
moving. The Rayquaza is at 600. That's still so far away.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy far away. Yeah, I think
Garatina will be next though. I agree.
it makes sense if we're just watching the price of Lost Origin do what it's doing. I don't see why it wouldn't be the
It's
next.
just that conversation we just had earlier about the artwork. Like Giratina, yeah, it's already a popular Pokemon, but it's just that artwork. It's just like kind of the Magikarp just has some weird cult following around it. That's just gonna. I don't think there's any stopping it.
Yeah.
That artist is just gonna be wealthy, man.
All
He's gonna be
right.
in demand.
All right, let's get one more good one to kind of wrap out the stream, I'm thinking. Because we just went through and like churned through quite a bit. So let's get one more good one before we kind of finish things up. Is there anyone in particular that you see that kind of piques your interest?
You want to talk about, I guess Crypto Cold asked about like the PC ETBs. You want to take that one, like 5 comments up?
Yeah.
Crazy.
It's crazy that so many PC exclusive ETBs still available and more. Can't even imagine how many of these were printed. Yeah, that's the hard thing about PC ETBs is like we have no clue how many were printed. You know, like I want to say I'm a fan of them, but also at the same time, I haven't picked up a ton of them because I'm also nervous. Like, I honestly would much rather prefer picking them up when they've gone out of stock, or if you were to pick them. I don't know if this is still a thing. People will have to answer this for me. But for the longest time, so you know how, like, with shipping companies, you'll have general just insurance, like, providers for product that gets damaged or replaced. One of the things Pokemon was doing was products that basically like PC ETBs that were being returned by customers. The secondary insurance company was actually reselling it on the secondary market on eBay. And so people were picking up like PC ETBs for like 30, 35 bucks, which is really cheap. I don't think they're doing that anymore because I think they got in trouble for it, but I could be wrong. But like in my mind, unless you're picking it up at those prices where it's like way below the MSRP price, it's really hard for me to want to get it unless I'm realistically getting only like a case until it's sold out, because there's just so much so many questions we have regarding the supply of it. I don't want to just say, hey, I think LO boosters are going up like crazy. I should probably pick up the PC ETB and hope that it just goes up like crazy at some point, when in reality, we don't know how much supply there is.
I'm staying away from them, if you guys want my honest opinion. I mean, you know, PC TVs and Scarlet and Violet, they have the stamp promos, which they can perform a little better. I definitely like PC TVs for specialty sets, like, you know, Crown Zenith 151, Paldean Fates, things like that, when there is no booster box there. But yeah, I mean, just like every other product, I don't think they perform or like move based on what the booster box does. I think they perform differently. The booster boxes move on popularity, scarcity of the collectability of them, and not really based on pack price or anything like that. So yeah, I'm not like looking at Lost Legend, Brilliant Styles, Fusion Strike, ETBs is like a move because the boxes are moving. It doesn't mean they can't move up. I just don't. I think there's better plays out there like than putting your money in those. I mean, as a collector's item, I think they're great. I don't think they're gonna like go lower probably than they are now. They'll probably rise up over time and do well. And so it's like nice to own them. You can hold the value and grow value. But I'm not like looking at them as like a great investment play, in my opinion.
All right. I think this will be the last one we'll take. Just kind of end it on something more fun, question filled. So the best set to open fun wise for money right now. Paldea Evolved, Paldean Fates are 151, bro.
Yeah, I said Paldean Fates. Paldean Fate's so cheap. I mean, it's like less than 40 in ETB. You can pull the most expensive card in the whole era. Mew, the second hit is like I don't know, it's up there in the top 10 hits in the entire era. It's got a whole laundry list of cards that are all really valuable. I mean, I think the depth of the hits in that set compared to the price, that's what I would open for fun.
Yeah, I think it's really hard to argue with that. Like, it just feels like, yeah, 100%. I mean, there's so many hits. I'm not
telling anyone to run out and like stock up on cases of it and think I don't know if that's going to happen. Like the box is going to go to the moon, but.
Well, what's nice about it, right, is like there's always a like, you know, question behind like, is it good or bad to oversaturate a set with so many hits? But ultimately, at the end of the day, when it comes to just opening product in general, if you're like saying to yourself, like, hey, I can go get these packs for like super duper cheap, right? Because you're probably able to still get the packs for around like, I mean, what are the packs actually just selling for, just in general? Like just the loose packs. Do we know? Because if the ETBs are selling for under $40, I would like to imagine that the packs are probably still relatively cheap.
Let's see.
I'll have to kind of see if I can find the price.
Whoa.
Wow,
Man,
that's more than the ETB. That doesn't make sense.
$5.
That's crazy. Wow, that's crazy. That makes very little sense. Are we missing something with the ETBs here? Do I have to click on it and then it shows like shipping or something? Or nope. I am not missing anything. That makes zero sense. Wow. Why not just buy the ETBs, sell off the promos? That makes no sense. Okay,
Well, the promos are worthless.
Are they not worth like even $1 or $2?
Maybe $1.
Really? Oh, that's a shame. Anyway, it's still cheaper though, obviously.
It is crazy. Like that. I'm telling you, it's for the price. It's the best jet to rip right now, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so let's just say you're getting the packs at $4 a pack. I mean, compared to what you're gonna pay for 151 and compared to what you're gonna pay for Paldea Evolve, technically Paldea Evolve will be cheaper, but you're not gonna have nearly as much fun when it comes to the amount of chasing you can play with it. Especially too, because the subset is so fun compared to SI, just regular illustration rares. I don't know. Like for what it's worth, even though I'm not like the biggest fan of Paldean Fades, I still think it's fun to catch baby shinies. It's still a fun time.
Guys, Eli didn't see the video, but people are talking about that video that was released by that. I forget someone. What's his name? Like
Henry's Poke Corner.
Harry's Poke Corner, I think mentioned. Oh, okay, J Love. He's like a content creator. I didn't know about him until today.
Is this the guy that you were telling me about before stream?
Yeah, everyone's like linking me to the video. I don't know if I didn't watch the video. I don't know if he called me out specifically or if he just called out all Pokemon investors, but apparently he put out a video that like talked, saying Pokemon investing like isn't a thing or it's all whatever. And he called out like anyone to come on and debate him or something. So everyone's talking about it. Guys, I watched like a couple minutes of the video. I haven't really watched much of it. I can tell the guy's a good content creator. He's growing a good channel. He gets good views. Like I'm happy for him, but it's like when he's completely out of his depth from the little bit I heard talking about investing, doesn't know what he's talking about, obviously doesn't invest. Like there's nothing really to talk about. Like we could talk for like 10 minutes. I could show him a bunch of things and he could choose to say like, not believe it. But I mean, you can't at this point in the hobby, if you're still trying to act like this isn't a thing, like look, that's why I came up with that thing I said in my live yesterday. Look, don't invest in this stuff. I just get lucky. And I just get lucky again and again and again and again. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I just get lucky. That's what I'm going to say for now on. I'm so sick of dealing with it. It's stupid.
So before I respond to what you just said, I wanted to answer this question first. What's a number that makes sense for the wholesale program? I'm more of a collector than a reseller. Most months would only be 3 to 5K. Here's my thing, man. Can you find value out of the program being a collector? Yes, but it's really hard for me to really justify because it's so inconsistent on when you can find the value, right? Because there's a lot of times where like, and people in the wholesale program will attest to this, where you've had flash sales. I mean, there's flash sales going on right now, right? But it's obviously a Yu-Gi-Oh product. But I mean, have you taken advantage of some of the Yu-Gi-Oh plays that are going on in the wholesale program right now? I mean, you get it. Like how
now? What's going on
right now in the wholesale program?
What is it?
Like the BOGOs for the 25th anniversary tins?
No.
Dude, some of the promos, I know nothing about Yu-Gi-Oh. A lot of people in this program know nothing about Yu-Gi-Oh, but they were literally, I mean,
25th anniversary from you though.
Huh?
I picked up a lot of those 25th anniversary.
That's because there was so much money in some of the Yu-Gi-Oh stuff. But anyway, I don't want to get too off topic here, right? And this is kind of going to go into my point, right? There's a lot of like plays you can make that are in Pokemon, Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh, and other games. But if you're like, I'm a collector, I only want Pokemon, you can still find good plays in terms of like the collector perspective, but you're a lot more on the clock when it comes to the value of what you're trying to acquire with it. Because if you're saying, all right, let's say I'm spending $3K a month, you're now saying to yourself that every month you're acquiring 3K, you're going to have to outpace the $95 a month to be in the program, which for a lot of people in the program that spend less than $1,000 a month, super easy to obtain. Super duper easy, because there's like the example I gave with the Yu-Gi-Oh BOGO that's going on. Some people are literally selling off the promos and they're like making $40 a case. They go buy 3 cases, which only cost them like a couple $100, and they just made their membership back in like less than $400. That's super attainable, right? But ultimately, at the end of the day, if that's something that you don't care about because you don't want to make those quick plays that's going to make you money and make it worth your while. I mean, heck, you could be someone in the program that goes super heavy at one point when they do a buy one, get one for Pokemon product. You go in, make 100% margin off of like $1,000. You paid for the program for the full year, and then you don't buy anything until another huge free Tenny play comes up. You can easily do stuff like that, because that'll happen from time to time. I don't know if you were in the program Nostalgia at the time when they were doing the buy one get one bundles to round out the year last year of like trainer toolkits, but it was mind-boggling because we had trainer toolkits that had like, it was buy one get one free.
I probably wouldn't have done that much work anyway.
Dude, buy one get one free. Yeah, right. Buy one get one free for the trainer toolkits was an insane deal because you were picking up Evolving Skies packs for $2.50 a piece because the 2022 had Evolving Skies in it. Like, that's an insane deal to pick up, right? So like you'll have that where you'll basically, find that insane deal, go drop 2-3 grand and then like double your money, and then you're freaking set for the rest of the year. But like, that's if you're flipping it, right? If you're in the program as a collector, as much as I would love to have you in the program, you have to do the math on if it makes sense in going through and saying, hey, justifiably, do I think the items that I'm buying for what's available right now in the program are going to be worthwhile to where I'm outpacing it? Most of the time, I would say not really, which is why I truly recommend the program mostly to people that are wanting to do this as like a side hustle to make additional revenue off of flipping, whether it be bulk or sealed or breaker stream suppliers, or so many different people that make money within the program in different ways. But that's
I
just
don't know,
kind of
man. I mean, I think there's always, especially if you're looking at multiple hobbies. Oh my gosh, I feel like there's always going to be certain sets that come out in certain things a year that even if you're not trying to like flip full time, it still could be worth it to you. I mean, 151, like the deals you had on 151, or like if someone's trying to get in these new cards like Yu-Gi-Oh right now, or trying to get into some of these newer card games, or like I think there's a lot of value, even people who just want to invest. If you just pick your opportunities, wait for a distro have a sale, wait for a crazy bundle deal, or a set like that, a super popular set that's like it's at $50 ETBs on retail, but you could buy it for 31 from you. Like there are a lot of instances where that happens, where if you stock up on enough of that when those times come, that makes it worth it. So yeah.
I mean, I didn't really think about that too, because we are just now getting Lorcana, obviously. So there is some value with that. I mean, yeah, it's definitely, I mean, here's another thing to think too, right? Not saying that if you were to join that you were going to get it, because I will say we base our allocations off of spend in the program, but with the dragon set coming up, I don't know what that's going to look like, but you're going to be buying the ETVs at like $35 for what's going to be the new dragon set coming out for Scarlet Violet 6.5. So yeah, I mean, that's a good point, because I didn't think about that, because people were buying 151 ETBs and UPCs for dirt cheap for the longest time. And I mean, Crown Zenith ETBs are still available for like 35, if I'm correct. So yeah, I guess that's a good point. Like, yeah, like leading up to it, especially with 6.5.
Is that, is that real?
Is what real?
Crown Zenith 35?
35 for an ETB?
Are you sure?
Is that surprising?
Dude, if that's still real, I'll buy you out right now.
Oh my god, dude. I mean, I could be wrong.
I go through like almost a case a night.
Dude, Crown Zenith has been available on distro 2 at 35 for like months. I don't know if it's still available now. I'll have to double check. I know distro 4 has it on open order for $36. So I don't.
Everyone I've talked, even like we had some people in the chat that have like a large distributor, and like everyone seems like they were sold out of Crown Zenith. Dude, because I can't get enough of it. Like that is the most open set that anyone.
So it looks like it's sold out on distro 2 at 35 shortly ago, but it's available I think on distro 4 for 36 if I'm correct.
Is distro 4 like shipping and everything now?
It is, and they're on open order. I called my rep yesterday. They said Crown Zenith's on open order, which is nice. Yeah, Alfred, get distro 3 up. But yeah, we're gonna start having distro 3 and 4 actively shipped now. We've been actively placing orders with distro 4 on a weekly basis. It's nice. Obviously, some of the items are limited because a lot of it's high demand. Like we're limiting 151 UPCs to 1 case limit for a week, but like we're finally placing orders now that we have the shop with them, which has been fantastic because there's a consistency, obviously, of the fee structuring.
Guys, don't go buy it out. Give me a chance.
That's so funny. Okay, but yeah, to kind of answer in response to the whole to kind of actually before I finish, if you have more questions, you want to talk about this more, you're a driver, join the Discord and message me. I'm very open. I'll have phone calls a lot because I always want to make sure if people join the program, like they're not wasting their time. I don't want people to join for the wrong reasons, and so I can easily talk through it with you. I have no problem helping you out. So and anyone else, of course, that wants to do that too. But yeah, I don't know, man, because I obviously haven't seen the video for the YouTuber that you guys were referencing that was like kind of talking about Poke investors. But it's kind of like like I said before, I haven't seen the video, so I'd have to understand the context more. But if they're talking about there's no such thing as Pokemon investing, like that does seem like a really, I don't want to say this without sounding like a dick.
Here's
That seems like a very hold on one second. What's the word I'm looking for? That just feels like a very narrow-minded take because I mean, as someone who saw the reprint for Lost Origin and took my money and bought it on the reprint, took the product that I bought, set it off aside as an investment and made double my money. I don't know, dude. That just seems kind of wild. Like, it's not like I was sitting here just gambling. Sorry, I sneezed. Yeah, I don't know. It seems like a very narrow-minded take.
Yeah,
like
I think what it is you know how guys, you know how it is. Pokemon investing is just kind of the hated group in this hobby. Like every angle, right? The content creators, the pack rippers, the collectors, everyone just likes to hate on Pokemon investors, the investor bros. They ruin the hobby, I get it.
Just a little bit more context. He didn't say there was not investing, just that some people have lost the plot when it comes to Pokemon. Like I said before, I want to see the video because I want to understand the full context because that's what I think is obviously important. I don't want to be speaking out of my butt from what just people are telling me. I don't know, dude. I don't know. Like I said, I'll have to watch the video to get the full context because it's hard for me not to say that, like, if people are missing the point because it's now come into this investor sphere, right? When you are someone that loves Pokemon, right? You love the hobby, right?
Even if you don't.
And it's obviously like, let's be quite frank. Pokemon inherently is a luxury. It is. Like when you are spending your money to go on vacation or buy collectibles, it is inherently a luxury, right? This isn't something as a necessity. It's not like food or rent. If you can have a luxury that you can also acquire value from as a form of investment, that brings out so much more fun into the hobby. Now, I understand people can get carried away because ultimately some people are no longer collecting for the right reasons, or maybe they're, taking that collecting aspect out of it entirely and just saying, I only want to invest. And that's completely fine too. But as someone who's both a collector and an investor, I'm never straying away from the fact that, hey, man, I am very in tune with the market. There's so much money being made off of certain investment picks, but also at the end of the day, the money that I make off of these investment picks that I am making because of my knowledge in the market is being used to help grow my Pokemon business and allow me to buy my collection that I love growing up, right? Because I'm a huge Diamond and Pearl fan, right? You bet your sweet bottom that if I'm making money off of these investment picks, which is helping me, make more money, that some of that money is going to go towards me collecting things that I love more so that I grew up with. So this is not a game of like oh man, I just hate Pokemon. I only care about making money. It's like, bro, I'm using Pokemon, which I love and have a lot of knowledge about, to invest and then make money to buy more Pokemon that I love. Like this is a cycle of I don't know.
But who cares if you were? That's my point. Here, I'll be Tony Montana. I'll be the bad guy. Everyone needs a bad guy. Like, who cares if people are only investing and they don't care about the cards and they don't want to collect and they are investing because they see opportunity? Who cares then either? Like, guys, we can't be upset that you can easily see patterns in this hobby. You can see opportunities. You can take advantage of them, and people who are consistently consistently make money. If it happens enough and you build up enough like nest egg through this and you're going to continue to do it, like why wouldn't you continue it? And why wouldn't that pattern? I always say this, patterns are more likely to continue the same than it is to change. It's like in life, like people are more likely to continue their same routines. I don't care if New Year's resolution comes along and they change it for a few weeks. They're more likely to keep their same routines in their life than suddenly change them. People are more likely to continue to spend their money and waste their money on things they don't need, but they want, over things they need, or make better choices, whatever it might be in their life, whatever. And so these things are always going to continue to sell well. And the investment's going to continue to work until human nature just changes or the world changes as we know it. And so in my mind, I don't care why people are doing it. If I know some people like the purists, they want people to actually love it and collect it. And I'm a little bit of both. Like I'm definitely about the money, but I definitely love this stuff too. I collect it, but I don't think that's the discussion. I think the discussion is, it's a very real, legitimate way of investing. It fits the definition of an investment. The world, the financial markets are being a lot more, they're looking at unregistered assets, sports cards, other collectibles, Pokemon as legitimate investments now. And to come out with like any type of video, like, oh, it's all just luck, or people are, they don't know what they're doing, or, all these investment channels are just getting people, pumping things up and getting them to lose money. It's just a crazy idea to put out there, in my opinion. Gets me heated, man. It gets me heated.
I mean, you know how I am, man. I brush things off pretty easily, so I don't play into it too much.
Who cares? We all just get lucky anyway.
It's all luck, baby. I mean, you think I just built my business, dude? I stumbled upon it. It just happened, bro. I never even.
I heard you were just driving around one day and you were just like, here, and like the building disappeared, and you were like, that's the one I'm going to set up shop in.
Dude, it just works like that. I
and
literally
then, like, you went on Sword and Shield one day and you put like all the sets out on the floor and you just like went, Lost Origin, I'm going to invest in Lost Origin, and you just bought it.
Dude, I basically so here's what happened. I printed out all the names of the sets, right? And I just put them in a hat, and I just literally mixed it up and then just kind of pulled out, and I just got lucky. Like it just kind of happened that way,
That's all it takes. That's really all it takes.
That's all it takes, baby.
Dude, I'm not kidding. That's just how it's going to be for now. And like, if anyone asks me anything, I'm just going to say, I don't know. I get lucky. I just randomly pick things and get lucky.
That's so funny. All right. I think we're at a good stopping point here. I want to thank everyone so much once again for joining. Make sure you leave a like, comment down below before you head out. And as always, if you got any questions or want to join Wholesale program, links down in the description below to join that, or message me on Discord if you have questions or want to be a part of the community. Obviously, Nostalgianomics, Alex, if you want to know who he is or where to find him, if you don't already, link is also down in the description. Anything you want to say before we head on out?
Enjoy the hobby.
Enjoy the hobby.
Collect it, don't invest.
All right, folks. Have a good rest of your day.